Professor Sims. I can't believe it's already time to do the end of course class summaries. It just doesn't feel like that much time has went by. Here's my 3-minute rundown on the course. What should you expect from this course? I think that you should expect to be challenged, but in a good way, right? You're not doing busy work or memorizing theories. There's an unreasonable amount of reading that goes into this, and none of the reading is pointless. Everything you do in this course is really relevant to what applies to you in your outside life. You're going to look at yourself and see yourself through a lot of different viewpoints, and you're really going to pick apart kind of who you are as a leader and how you show up in other cultures and across cultures and what your blind spots and biases might be. I don't think you're just checking a diversity box in this class, which I really enjoyed and was nice. You're kind of learning to lead with more awareness, more curiosity, and definitely more intention. The most important part of this class for me was doing the inventories, and I'm really usually not a fan of doing those, and they still weren't my favorite things to do, but I did really like the results of what came out of them. It kind of gave me something concrete to work with, and it really challenged me to think about who I am, both, as a person and as a leader. I thought I was further along than I actually was, and it was really good to take a hard look at myself from the outside and kind of just talk through it, both with you and others in the class, in the Zoom sessions, and on the Discords that we have outside of class. And it kind of gave me a new perspective on how I operate, especially around diversities and like cross-cultural work, which I spend a lot of time in. I think that taking that outside feedback and like really using it to grow is kind of one of the best things you can do just to become like a better human and a better leader. And then strategies for success in this course. I think you have to be willing to take a hard look at yourself. You don't have to be perfect by any means, but you do have to like kind of show up and be willing to do that work. And that those small changes you make, they can really mean something big and add up over time. And you have to be honest about whatever gap shows up in your inventories, because the way you think about yourself and the way that others see and perceive you can be two vastly different things. And if you want to get something out of this course, you have to show up and do the work. That's an important part of this, is doing the work that goes into it, and kind of looking at yourself and formulating those plans that you spend time doing in course. And I really did like the idea that, you do these plans in course as your part of your coursework, but then you actually execute them and you write about them at the end of the course. That's not something that we usually do in a lot of the other courses. So I think that was really great. Another strategy you can use for showing up or for success in the course is find that person in class that you can work well with. That way you have a partner to bounce ideas off of. I didn't do that early on. I kind of did it towards the end to the late part of class, and I wish I would have done that earlier, because it was really nice to have that one core person to go to and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, and just having someone to bounce those ideas off of. It's really important. If you try to go through this class, completely by yourself and isolated, you're not going to have the same outcome as if you would work with someone to get those outside perspectives. At the end of it all, I really enjoyed this class. I think it was one of my favorite classes that I've taken so far in this graduate program. I'm looking forward to hopefully having many more classes like this. And thank you for listening.